Hi again. We're going to take a minute and look at what I refer to as a box or single line sketch normally in class. Basically, it's just a simplified schematic type sketch of a floor plan. It really doesn't show any wall thicknesses. It doesn't show really the nuts and bolts of the building. It's enough that you understand what you're looking at, but not so much that it is a finalized plan in any way. It's proportional, it's not to a scale, it's laid out to help us out and see what's going on without getting too deep into things. Now, this one I've converted over from a bubble drawing that we've talked about before, but this is for our first actual sketching assignment, CAD Arc 1, Design 1. This is what we do first. We design a small cabin bungalow, and we use it as a vehicle to get introduced to all the symbols, to how some of the nomenclature, some of the jargon we use, those kinds of things. So as I'm looking at this, I've got this laid out, and I've generated a small bungalow type building. Now, looking at this building is 21 feet front to back, not gigantic. And if I look across it to see how large it is, well, what I've got here is a 14-foot sleeping area that's 21 across. It's quite large. I've got a 12-foot living, sitting, dining area and a 14-foot kitchen prep area. Well, if I take the 14 and the 14, I get to 28, plus the 12 gets me to 30. That's 40 by 21. So if I do the math, I'm just going to round it down. 40 by 20 is going to get me right about 800 square feet. So this is decent sized, but it's not gargantuan by any stretch of the imagination. So I've got it laid out right now. It's like I said, it's meant to be a cabin or a bungalow. And this is where I start talking to the students about how we note things, how we lay out kitchen and living area designs. And as I'm looking at this, it's like, okay, I've stacked my plumbing. Let's start with it. I've got my bath area and my kitchen area sitting back to back, mostly because I want to back things up so they're against each other, mostly the plumbing. Now, in this case, a lot of people tell you, put the kitchen sink on an outside wall so you can put a window, just for a change of scenery because, whatever. I've never really liked that idea, especially if I'm doing like a cabin situation, because that puts plumbing in an exterior wall. This way I have one plumbing wall right here, which is normally framed out of 2x6 material. And that way I've got enough wall there and enough insulation that I've kind of protected things. And I've also stacked the plumbing so it's all in one central location. So my vanity, my kitchen sink, my water closet, my tub or shower are all in one area. All the drains are in one wall, all the plumbing's in one wall. In fact, I can kind of minimize it as much as possible in this way. If I do have a refrigerator, it's on the end right here, so it's got space for if it has ice or water, you got those things included. Now, in this case, I do have an oven in an exterior wall. Actually, this is a range, which is an oven cooktop combo for those students that are just beginning this. This might not be finalized in my brain, and with the way I like to think my family works, this would very likely become a double oven or a double broiler placed in this wall. And then we'd put the cooktop probably out here in the island, just so that we had better space. We're looking to create a triangle between the refrigerator, the sink, and the cooktop. That is what's commonly referred to as a work triangle. In this situation, like I said, this is just overview, so we're keeping it kind of simple. But that's just to make your movements, your work, your travel in the area as efficient as possible. Now, other things I put in my design at this point are annotations, size choices, location choices, those kinds of things. So what I've placed on here besides just the kitchen and the bath are other things. Like I've ID'd where I'd like windows. Like I've got a window in the bath area. I've actually got two in there. I've got one picture kind of window in the kitchen area. I'm considering putting an additional one here, but I'm not sure. I've got a big picture window situated directly in the front of the living dining area. I've got 4 in the bedroom. I don't have any on this wall. That is by choice. I do have a fireplace in that wall right now, and I'm considering whether or not to keep the fireplace or to put a centralized like wood burning stove or pellet stove here to heat the location. As you're doing this, you got to think through your mechanics as well. In this situation, this is meant to be a getaway mountain cabin bungalow, which in this case, I would most likely heat with like a pellet stove or wood burning stove and or fireplace, and not have a full-time furnace there, just because I don't want the gas in the house. I want to limit that as much as possible. But if I do that, then that means I've got a plan for electrical supply, whether it's out to a primary generator, solar bank, whatever I decide to go to. If it's that remote, if it goes out to power lines, great. That also means I have to consider things like my plumbing, my sewer. Am I going to have how's my water supply going to work? How's my drainage going to work? What am I going to do with my wastewater, et cetera, et cetera? So as I'm looking at this, these are the things I have to keep in my mind. And this is how I work from a single line sketch. Now, what happens from here is we will proceed to project and envision this thing as if it's three-dimensional, as if it's standing up. That's one of the reasons why I always inform you as students that when we design stuff, we put the front of the house to the bottom of the page. Okay, this is the front of the building, front of the structure, front of whatever you want to call it. And that's because I want to, when I look at it, be facing it as if I'm looking at it from the front. And as I picture it coming up vertically, I kind of, in my mind, picture it literally standing here in miniature on this page. And I picture, okay, am I going to have a porch? Am I going to have, what are those things? And that's where I proceed to with the elevation to depict what I'm envisioning in that perspective. Now, in this case, I will try to keep gables and things like that. I will try to simplify as much as possible while maintaining the integrity of the building and the overall look I want. Now, I'll come back and do some more of this in a bit and project and probably do a sample of how I'd sketch this. But for right now, that's what we're looking for in your box drawings, your single line drawings. Thanks.